Just quickly, one or two of you mentioned effectively the expansion of tribal sovereignty and VAWA in terms of the ability to bring predators to account, if you will. But that's going to involve a lot of investment and capacity in terms of law enforcement, in terms of judicial systems and what have you. I know we've got a couple of pilot projects underway with various tribes now. I think the Pascayaki are very involved in this. Are any of your tribes, working toward this or involved in any pilot kinds of programs where you demonstrate the ability to actually enforce the additional sovereignty that Congress extended?
Puyallup is not a part of any pilot project, but we do have a core system in place and are definitely seeking expanded funding so that we can implement the Tribal Law and Order Act and Violence Against Women, because we look at those, and my elder councilman, Lawrence LaPointe, always comments on how these are unfunded mandates, and so we're going to continue to come here and tell our story in the hopes that, and invite you out to our reservations to see our systems and see what we're working with firsthand.
And the Cowlitz are going to build that infrastructure as a part of our reservation. Now that we have that available, and DOJ will be a component of providing that service. And we already have a very strong support from DOJ in our urban services clinic, and that will continue. Obviously, it's a very successful, nationally recognized program.
And Lower Elwha currently isn't a pilot program either, but we do have our own tribal court system in regards to that. And these are some of the outreaches that we're seeking for more funding on, because we need more. Some of the domestic violence that are occurring are related to non-natives or other natives that are in tune with that. But we have good working relationships with the local agencies, the county and the city, for cross-stepization that occurs with our officers. But it's something that's in great need. We need to have family services umbrellaed around all of the programs, but also to the fact of where we have a need for foster care because of the displacement that is taken on with the families, and foster cares within our own jurisdiction for the tribal communities. We're seeing a lot of our elders, our grandmas that are taking care of the grandchildren, and they're utilizing their Social Security resources to fund the families. But the need is being able to hire on more public defenders as well as prosecutors, and we just recently contracted with another judge because we're just getting overloaded in our community for the high rise because of the drugs and alcohol, domestic violence relations that are occurring there. But in our chemical dependency programs, just as much as we've seen a real high increase in our community and surrounding.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there's no...
well, first, thank all of you for what you do. There's not much more important task in Indian country than closing this gap between college-educated and other ethnicities and races and American Indians. So you're doing the Lord's work, to say the least. I have both a point to make and then a question to ask, and it might even be more appropriately directed to staff. But point, we do have a difficulty here in the sense that while you're talking about what the president has offered, proposed, he's also proposed funding a lot of this stuff with mandatory money, which we actually don't have the jurisdiction over. So strangely enough, when you're quoting him, he's got a bigger pie of money than this committee actually technically can do. So we'll end up having to cut some things. And I'm not suggesting at all that this should be it. Quite the opposite. I would be on the opposite side of that argument, but it is going to create some real difficulty. My question is, and Ms. Billy, you may be able to answer this better, and I should know this. I'm embarrassed to have to ask you this question. We've got a pot of money here in Interior, obviously, where we do some things for tribal colleges. I know we have one in Labor H, too, because we have historically black colleges. Labor H is the shorthand around here for Labor, Health and Human Services and Education Subcommittee. It's a huge jurisdiction. Most Indian money moves through here. We have over $400 million in various Indian education programs, though, that move through that committee. I know last year the administration flat-funded money for historically black colleges, Hispanic serving institutions, and tribal colleges. We have all three of those things there. We gave it about a 2% raise. We were able to kind of scrape around, find a little bit more money. And the tribal piece is fairly small, as I recall. It's like $25 million. It's not, can you tell me the difference between what that funds?
For the discretionary portion, none of that money can be used for operating funding. So it's
Okay.
not the day-to-day operating. That's a stipulation in the law. They can use it for a lot of programs. They can use it for construction. So a lot of the tribal colleges use that to help build part of their facilities. It's never enough to build a full
Right.
building, so they cobble it together with other sources. But they use it for construction. They can use it to start new programs, but they can't use it to sustain the program. So say they want to start a new degree program, they can use it for that, but then once the program's up and running, they can't continue to use that money. So it's got to constantly be something new. That program was created specifically for developing institutions, so helping them put the infrastructure in, like maybe starting an office of sponsored programs or something like that. But again, you can't use it for operating funding at all.
It's really all about increasing capacity, Title III.
Well, it would be helpful if you've got some thoughts on, I know there's limits to what a program like that to do, but honestly, because that budget is so much bigger, the budget for the total committee versus the budget for this committee, and because we're not talking, as you say, it's $25 million, so you could increase it pretty substantially. I think we moved it from 20 to 25, so it actually got a, quote, big percentage increase, but it's not that much money, as you point out, appropriately. That may be a place where, again, it won't take care of the things you're addressing here, that we could do something, again, that would be helpful without it, causing a problem. So please, if you've got some thoughts on that, later, get them to our subcommittee or to me personally or this guy back here especially. We'll make him do the heavy lifting. But 'cause that's an area we might be able to do something in this year.
Thank you. We will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He would know. He's the chairman of that subcommittee.
Yeah.
No.
We have ideas, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Usually when you mention money, people do have ideas. I just want to thank you guys for coming down here, not just in front of this committee. I know how often you're down here advocating for your peoples, and when you do that, you end up advocating for all of Indian country, and it is extremely helpful and educational. So there's nothing in here that I can't be supportive of, obviously, but I will add this for Chairman Calvert again. I'm going to make this point probably several times. One of the challenges, and this committee, we've been a really fairly good effort to work across the aisle repeatedly, and I want to thank my friend Ms. McCullum. Nobody could have done more. Indian Health, for instance, up 54% since 2008, and that's driven largely by this committee. And for a number of years, I think for at least the first 4 of those years, we actually put more in Indian Health than the president asked for, and that's no criticism of him because he was asking for increases. So we know there's a challenge. This year, we've got a sort of a flat top-line budget, and the president has inflated a number of these budgets by putting in mandatory funding as opposed to discretionary. We only have jurisdiction over discretionary, so when you get the president's account, he's got money in there that, frankly, I don't think he's likely to get, but even if he could, we don't have the authority to get it. So that's going to be a challenge, although I know this committee will, as it always does, make this one of its very, very highest priorities. I mean, really, we all care about this, Democrat and Republican alike, and we all know that for a lot of years, many decades and decades, I mean, this just didn't get the attention it deserves. And so I want to thank, again, each of you for what you're doing to educate us and educate the broader society. A lot of the progress we've made in recent years has been because people just kept working, kept pounding. And I want to thank the president. I don't want to be critical of him here because he has done an exceptional job compared to previous presidents in this area. He really, really has, and he deserves a lot of credit. But I think we're going to have some challenges just because of that mixture of mandatory and discretionary money here and some hard decisions by the committee. But you're more likely to benefit than most from those decisions. Yeah. With that, you